So what originally brought you to Empowered Man?
Well, the original thing was a lot of problems in my marriage, right? It was gotten very toxic. There was no real communication happening. It was more like just shooting at each other, right? And it had been that way for years before I got in enough pain and said, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. And when I ran across the Empowered Man stuff, I thought maybe this is a possible solution. I'm willing to talk to them and see what happens.
What had you done before Empowered Man?
You know, try to muscle my way through it, right? Try to talk to friends of mine about it, and they would try to give me support. They would try to give me support, but it wasn't like they couldn't relate because they may be in a healthy or fairly healthy relationships. They weren't equipped, and of course tried marital counseling. And I think the therapist was a good therapist, but it just wasn't helping the dynamic. It wasn't giving me the tools that I got here.
Yeah. How long have you been working with Empowered Man?
Let's see, I joined in January of 21. So this January will have been 2 years. So 20 months, 18 months, something like that.
What do you feel has changed in your marriage?
Everything. The whole dynamic changed. Now, it didn't happen overnight. First, I had to learn the tools that we teach here at Empowered Man. Then I had to actually apply them. And then I had to practice them because it takes a while for it to feel a little more natural. But once I started using the tools, the dynamic between my wife and I began to shift. And it went from toxic, like ridiculous teenage stuff, name calling, screaming, yelling. It went from that to all of a sudden, she was able to hear me and I was able to hear her. And then you start to build a little more compassion for each other and you get a little more understanding. And so that's when it really, like when things completely shifted. Now today, is my marriage perfect? No, of course not. But there is empathy between us. There's a lot more love, not just demonstrated in words, but demonstrated in actions. But most of all, it's patience with each other. If I'm coming up a little short, not showing up well, she knows, be patient with me or say, hey, what's going on with you? What's coming up? And same for her. So it's changed the whole dynamic. I never thought that my marriage could get to where it is today. Because I was ready to divorce when I got here. This was my last ditch effort. If this didn't work, that's it, I'm done.
How has it impacted how you show up as a father?
You know, I originally came from my marriage, but then what I realized was Empowered Man's not so much about the marriage, it's about changing who I am. Changing who I am as a man, changing who I am as a person, showing up in a completely different way in all my relationships, business relationships, family, friends, all of it. And so specifically as a father, I begin to be more present, begin to show my children more empathy because I have adult children and I also still have a small child in the house. So I've got 4 kids. So it was important that I start stepping it up a little bit because my marital problems had consumed me so terribly that I really wasn't showing up as a father. So that has shifted.
What do you feel you've gained from being at the Empowered Man Live event?
More clarity, more growth. I had a sense of community before this by being on the calls together, but when you actually share space together, you do recreational things outside, you do the structural, more like workshop type. It's like you bond in a way that's very unique. Not like anything quite I've ever experienced.
What would you tell a man who's on the fence?
About joining Empowered Man?
Yeah.
Take that leap. That's what I did. I remember talking to Eric, was the first guy I spoke to. Yeah, we've talked about it. And I told Eric, I said, I just want you to know, you're asking for a financial investment from me, and my brain's saying, this is some online scam. This isn't real. And he said, I can only share with you what we do. You have to ultimately decide if this is for you. And I thought, everything I've tried on my own has not worked. Let me give this a shot. So what I would say is, make that leap. I promise you, you won't regret it. It's changed my life. You guys, I don't know how else to share it. I'll share it with you all. You saved my ass. It's not about my marriage as much as you saved me as a person. You gave me skills, abilities, ways of interacting that has revolutionized my whole life. It's changed my whole life. I'm a different person today than I was when I showed up at the doors of Empowered Man. And I owe that to you guys. I owe that to you more than anybody, brother.
Thank you.
You have saved me, Joey.